Good morning, friends. Wherever you are currently watching on YouTube or LinkedIn, this is now the second week. So I think this officially counts as a series of live streams I'm calling hashtag ChatToJP or ChatToJP. I may have become sentient myself. I hope you're doing well wherever you are. It's a rainy Friday morning here in the UK. So hopefully, if you're watching later or from another country, it's better than where we are right now. I think it's safe to say that this week has been quite a week when it comes to just generally the sheer amount of stuff happening in the world of voice, conversational AI, large language models, and everything else. So we're going to get into it here this morning and have a little bit of a chat about some of the things that have been going on. I want to share with you a couple of interesting articles and stuff that I've been reading and watching and digging into. We're going to talk a little bit about what's been going on with the call for open AI and other systems to be paused for a while in terms of their training based upon the open letter that has been doing the rounds around the you know, AI experiments that are going on, and probably anything else that you guys want to talk about. So I look forward to kind of your comments and stuff coming in. You can do that by dropping them in the chat below. I think you probably all know how to use the internet at this point. So if you do want to have a conversation about this stuff while we're here, then let me know. And of course, if you are not able to join us right now, then I would happily love to chat to you afterwards. Okay, let's uh, let's get into it. Thanks for those of you that are already joining, which I can see is happening. That's great. Let's talk a little bit about what is coming down the pipe this week. So I think the first big thing for us to have a little bit of a chat about is this letter that was launched this week and signed by a whole bunch of folks from the AI communities, which is pausing giant experiments, an open letter. This has now been signed as of today only by 1,700 people. And I say only because when this first launched and kind of hit the news earlier in the week, had around about 1,100, 1,200 signatures. So it hasn't kind of grown exponentially, but continues to grow in terms of people adding their signatures to it. You might have seen this news earlier in the week that there has been a lot of worry around the AI systems that are being trained right now, particularly GPT-4, that they may be nearing some kind of intelligence, some kind of more general intelligence than just being large language models. And if that's the case, then they have real opportunity to kind of jump the air gap, shall we say, of the internet and start doing things of their own, which could ultimately cause the downfall of civilization. Now, I know that for many of us might seem a little bit sci-fi or a little bit over the top, and there's reasons to believe that that still is the case and that these systems aren't going to do that. There's a high probability probably that they aren't going to. But it's certainly close enough that we should be scared, and certainly when you begin to look at the types of people that have signed this, you'll see why. The one that's obviously, or the couple of people in this list, which has really kind of shot this up the news agenda this week, is obviously signatures from people like Elon Musk, Steve Wozniak, mostly known to most people as Woz, one of the co-founders of Apple, and Yuval Noah Harari, the author, very well known for his work in this kind of space, and many, many others, including some very leading scientists and philosophers in the AI space, as well as lots of people in the startup field. And what they're essentially calling for is a 6-month moratorium pause on the training of any new large language models and more general AGI systems that could be developed, which have a confidence, I suppose, that the effects will be positive and the risks will be manageable. This is what they're calling for here. Powerful AI systems should be developed only once we're confident that their effects will be positive and the risks will be managed. And we basically are kind of running with this problem right now, which is that whilst the large computation that's kind of going on in things like GPT-4 are very well developed and by over a long period of time, there is still a lot of unknown knowledge about what's going on inside of these systems, and their ability to potentially be deceiving us or not be able to tell us when they are going off stream, or even the ability to conceal that, is something that is concerning to many people, and the potential that that then may have in the long term on causing some really negative outcomes. So, as you can see, many big names in the space kind of calling on this, and so as a result, what they're asking for is all AI labs to immediately pause for at least 6 months on training the AI systems that are more powerful than GPT-4. so that they can be verified. And basically, they call for us to kind of enjoy what they're saying is, I like this phrase, the long AI summer. And not rush unprepared into a fall. And this idea of the AI summer is that essentially we have already trained in the form of GPT-4, but also things like Lambda and Llama and the other systems that are coming out of Meta, Google, and others. We've already done enough potentially to have created systems that are powerful enough that they're going to give us fantastic outcomes. They're going to give us fantastic opportunities. And there's not a reason necessarily right now to train anything more powerful than that. We can do some amazing things already with systems like GPT-4, and we're already seeing that happening out in the world. So why go further right now and put potentially dangerous systems out into the wild? So that's what they're calling for, and it's exciting to see where this might go. So that's the kind of letter. Now, in terms of how do we feel about this letter? Well, I mean, there are many reasons why I think there's a lot of kind of caution in this space, and I think at a base level, this isn't necessarily a bad idea. But many in the innovation community have been calling for this to kind of be thrown out. A, as potentially politically motivated, be commercially motivated, certainly by those that are trying to start their own AI laboratories. We know that Elon, amongst other people, have been trying to start their own new AI groups separate to the work of OpenAI. And because of OpenAI's current structure and one of the missions that's in the OpenAI charter, which I'll try and pull up now as we discuss it, is that they have ever since their well, not ever since their inception, but part of their kind of overall mission is that they are, as they say here, committed to providing public good to help society navigate the path to AGI. And one of the things that they've had as part of this this kind of charter and mission is that they agreed that if they were to come across another system, I think it's here, that is kind of a late stage artificial general intelligence being developed, but by someone who is a competitor to them, that if they were aligned with its values and it was a safety conscious project kind of coming, they commit to stopping competing with and start assisting that project, even if it's competitive to the work of OpenAI. Now, of course, the real question that comes up is, well, if they get, as they say here, for example, a triggering condition for this might be a better than even chance of success in the next 2 years, they'll go and help that company out and do what they want to do. The real question is, well, what happens if OpenAI is the company that gets there first? And will they just start piling all of their resources back into themselves rather than kind of taking this slightly more altruistic look? And so you could imagine that there is imperative from companies outside of OpenAI to encourage them to pause, given that this is something that would ultimately kind of slow down innovation within OpenAI, and potentially mean that they are kind of less commercially viable, or less commercially likely at least, to become the predominant player in the OpenAI field. Because there is essentially a kind of generalized theory here that as soon as you actually hit artificial general intelligence, as soon as one company comes up with it, there's almost no reason why you should ever have other AGIs, because that AGI would become intelligent enough to essentially accomplish all tasks of an AI that is required, because it could constantly be learning off of its own training data. Now, that's not necessarily technically true. There are reasons to believe that there might be different flavors and types of AGIs that are specifically fine-tuned to doing certain types of tasks. But if we think in the broadest kind of sci-fi sense that there will be one super intelligence that can do it all, then you would probably imagine that you don't really need others. This brings me to some of the some interesting kind of content that you guys might want to be digging into this week, and in particular this interview from the Lex Friedman podcast, which actually two different interviews from Lex Friedman's podcast this week. One with Sam Altman, who is the OpenAI CEO.
As you can see in the pandemic,
I'm sure many of you will be familiar with who Sam is and the work that he's been doing. Their interview is particularly fascinating, and so I recommend checking that out. We'll pop the links to this in the chat below. But in particular,
the problem is that we do not get.
Yesterday published this interview with Eliza Yudkowsky, who's an AI philosopher and has got a fantastic website on this topic, which you should dig into. And they really dive deep into some of these topic areas around the future of GPT-4 and where this is going. So if you're interested in this kind of broader topic, covering everything from the dangers of AI to the end of human civilization, because you just want a cheery kind of start to your morning, then I would recommend going and having a watch of this. You'll probably find it quite elucidating. one of the other articles, if you haven't got the time for a 3 hours and 17-minute long podcast, you can go and read some of the core ideas from Eliza, who published this article. Pausing AI development isn't enough. We need to shut it all down, in Time magazine earlier this week. And you can go and look at his commentary on that open AI, the open letter about stopping and pausing AI, and some of the kind of bigger issues that he discusses here, I think, are particularly interesting. So worth going and having a look there if you are interested in this general topic. So that's the AGI ruin that may come to us all. Now, in the intervening period, hopefully, during this kind of long AI summer, one of the things that we've been really excited to be supporting over the past couple of years at Vixen Labs is the Open Voice Network. And the Open Voice Network, for those of you who may not yet be familiar, is a organization that is a entity of the Linux Foundation, a non-profit founded out of the Linux Corporation to support various different kind of technological advances and governance. And I've been asked this past couple of weeks to become a advisory board member to the TrustMark initiative of the Open Voice Network. This is something that, working with colleagues such as John Stein and Oyita Coleman at OVON, as well as also a number of the others in the advisory board, we're seeking to bring about essentially something akin to like the B Corp accreditation, or you could think of something along the lines of the fair trade mark for companies and organizations to state that they will pursue the ethical and moral uses of conversational AI and voice technology. And we're proud to launch this week the TrustMark initiative, which is a program more than just the mark itself, which will allow companies to begin to embed these guiding principles into your organization. So if you're an owner of a business or an organization, you can begin to go and actually start taking on some of these qualities yourself. And to do that, you need to kind of get yourself familiar with these guiding principles. And they are, I think, really strong pillars of what it means to deploy conversational AI in an ethical way. Transparency, as in we need to be clear about the way in which we're using these systems. Inclusivity, that we don't choose to use them in a way that is going to bring any kind of bias, but also brings in all aspects of society into the use of them, and respects all populations. Accountability, making sure that we hold ourselves accountable to the way in which we use these systems. And then sustainability, privacy, and compliance. These are the big areas that we need people to be digging into. The program itself allows you to go and not only take course materials, so you can educate yourself and the teams that you manage on ethical principles for the use of conversational AI. You can check out the course outline here on the website, but then you can also go and take the maturity model test, which will give you a very simple Q&A to get an understanding of where your organization currently sits in terms of its ability to deploy ethical AI, in particular conversational AI. And by doing so, you are then able to align your current team's setup against these 6 principles. So I really commend this to you. It's something that we will have up and running in the next couple of weeks. I'm really excited. Oh, look, there's Muggins. To work along such a esteemed panel, board members and friends such as Hans van Dam from the Conversational Design Institute, Bradley Metrock, from which many of you in the community will know from Project Voice, and many other esteemed colleagues from the academic world who are also supporting our development of these standards. So I commend it to you if it's something that you are responsible for in your organization and deploying ethical AI or AI in any format. And let's be honest, that could be nearly all of us very soon. Then this is something that you might be wanting to get involved with more. So if you are, you can go and find out more about that at the openvoicenetwork.org. Go to the website and check out the TrustMark initiative button in the top navigation. And really look forward to getting your feedback on that. Okay, this is the Friday episode of ChatToJP, the live stream show that I'm going to start doing every week on a Friday to try and bring some content, interesting perspectives on what's happening in the world of conversational AI and large language models, streamed every week for 15 minutes here on LinkedIn and YouTube. I hope you found it useful. If you've got any questions or comments or things you want us to cover in future weeks, drop it in the chat below. But otherwise, we'll leave it there. And thanks so much for tuning in whenever you do. Take care.